Assalamu alaikum and good evening. My name is Zahra Sayed.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Zahra. Greetings of peace, everyone. This is Janan Hashim, and welcome to this Chicago benefit of Muslim Network TV, brought to you by Sound Vision.
I hope you all enjoyed the dinner. We'd like to thank each one of you for being here with us this evening. Jazakallah khair. I'm coming to you from our Toronto studios, where I anchor the Daily Muslim News.
I'm currently in the Chicago studios of Muslim Network. It has been an honor to work and volunteer with Sound Vision on and off over the past 20 years. From the outset, Sound Vision and Muslim Network would like to acknowledge that our program is taking place in an area now known as Lyle, which was initially home to 4 Chief Potawatomi Indian villages. In 1816, the U.S. government, quote, negotiated a treaty, unquote, with the native people to relinquish all claim and title of their land.
Thank you for that critical acknowledgement. We cannot be honest if we do not recognize that the genocide of native people took place on the very land we are standing here today. This evening, we will use genocide in Palestine as a case study to talk about media and how MNTV covers it. But first things first, let's begin where we always begin, the guidance from our Lord, the Rabbul Alameen.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakumullahu khair. A beautiful message from God, the merciful and the mercy-giving. Sisters and brothers, nothing highlights the need for quality media more clearly than observing the portrayal of the genocide in Palestine by the current US media.
You are right, Sister Janan. Unfortunately, media dehumanizes Palestinians while humanizing Israel. Remember that story of Palestinians beheading 40 Israeli babies? Here is Muslim Network TV's take on that fake news.
Palestinians have beheaded 40 Israeli babies. Fox News and others reported, claimed, and repeated this. It was all over the news.
Babies and toddlers were found with their heads decapitated in Kfar Aza in southern Israel.
The horrific accusation found its way onto the front pages of various Western media publications. Even President Joe Biden repeated this false claim in a press briefing.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
The White House, however, did a fact check and retracted the president's statement. The president was just echoing what he heard and saw in the media. But why are Israel and their allies indulging in hasbara, a form of disinformation warfare? Media creates war hysteria. In the 1990s, the media propagated other fake news. Iraqi soldiers were killing babies in Kuwaiti hospitals by removing them from incubators.
They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
And the president said that he had seen it on CNN and that he was shocked at some of the things that he had heard.
And they were thrown out of the incubators.
President Bush repeated the incubator story at least 10 times in the following weeks.
It helped ignite momentum for the invasion of Iraq.
The skies over Baghdad have been illuminated. We're seeing bright planes and missiles sent that.
Ironically, Jewish people were often falsely accused in Europe of murdering Christian boys. Here is a German newspaper stating, "Christians, take care of your children. It will be the Jews' Passover on March 17th." Here, in this Christian painting, Jews are depicted killing an Italian child, Simon of Trent, whose disappearance and death were blamed on the leaders of the city's Jewish community. In England, it was claimed that an International Council of Jews chose a country each year where a child would be killed during Easter, because of a Jewish prophecy stating that the killing of a Christian child each year would ensure that the Jewish people would be restored to the Holy Land. All these claims, known as blood libel accusations, were false. But Jews suffered multiple pogroms because of them. Unfortunately, today, Palestinians are called baby killers. Well, it is essentially Palestinian children who've been the victims of Israeli occupation and apartheid. 33,000 Palestinian children have been killed or injured since 2008. Here is Claire Daly, an Irish member of the European Parliament, testifying to these facts.
More than 150,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed or injured in Gaza and the West Bank since 2008. 33,000 of those were children.
But the damage was done. It gave a green light to Israel for the continued genocide of the Palestinian people. No wonder the United Nations called Gaza a graveyard of children. I wonder if this is what Malcom X Shaheed meant when he said, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. And that's power, because they control the minds of the masses."
Words do matter, and images shape the world. There are some brave journalists who do speak up, but they face consequences for sharing Palestinian perspective.
To close out the show tonight, our final show, sadly, we want to take a look back at some of our favorite moments from the past 3 years. Roll the tape. Welcome to a new show here on MSNBC. I'm Mehdi Hasan, and this show is committed to standing up for democracy.
We don't know what's next for Mehdi Hasan, but we are proud of him, as well as Muslim Network TV, for standing up for the truth. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Sister Zahra. Perhaps Mehdi Hasan should join the Muslim Network team. Now, as of today, Israel has killed at least 122 journalists, among them a contributor to Muslim Network TV. Tonight we pay tribute to an esteemed individual, Refaat Alareer, a professor of English in Gaza who served as an analyst for Muslim Network TV. His journey on this earth concluded with him becoming a shaheed. Now we will take a moment to honor the legacy of Shaheed Professor Alareer, as remembered and celebrated by Muslim Network TV.
Remembering Professor Refaat Alareer. Professor Alareer has achieved the eternal life. He became a shaheed. A shaheed, a witness, God tells us, never dies. And never think of those who have been killed in the cause of God as dead. Rather, they are alive with their Lord, receiving provision, rejoicing in what God has bestowed upon them of God's bounty. Al-Quran, chapter 3, verses 169 to 170. Professor Alareer's story is like the story of Palestine. He was killed on December 7th, 2023, in his brother's home in Gaza City, along with his brother, sister, and 4 of her children. He was at his brother's home because his own home had been destroyed by Israeli forces. In 2014, Israeli airstrikes killed his brother Mohammed, along with his wife's grandfather, her brother, her sister, and her sister's 3 children. Professor Alareer lost more than 30 relatives in Israeli attacks. Professor Alareer was one of the active voices from Gaza. Muslim Network TV interviewed him multiple times. Alareer was co-founder of the We Are Not Numbers project, a professor at the Islamic University of Gaza, a poet, and one of Gaza's most prominent writers. During the 2021 Israeli assault on Gaza, the professor published a guest essay in the New York Times where he detailed life under bombardment. I am caught between wanting to take the family outside, despite the missiles, shrapnel, and falling debris, and staying at home like sitting ducks for the American-made Israeli-piloted planes, he wrote. We stayed at home. At least we would die together, I thought. Like all people of Gaza today, he knew he might be killed. On November 1st, he wrote a fresh poem and pinned it on his Twitter X account. If I must die, you must live to tell my story. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. It is the tale of freedom. It is the tale of Palestine. Professor Refaat Alareer wanted freedom. He is free now. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and did not bid one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale.
It is a genocide, except that you will not hear this G word in your media. You will also not hear the A word either. No one dares to talk about apartheid in Israel, although Israel's own human rights organization, Beit Salem, calls it apartheid. President Carter calls it apartheid. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and our own Justice for All calls it apartheid. But media will not call it apartheid. Watch how Muslim Network TV reports on the Israeli apartheid.
The third holiest place for Muslims is called Al-Aqsa Mosque. That literally means the furthest mosque, and it is unfortunately becoming a reality for Muslims living just around it. They can't get to Al-Aqsa easily. They need permits by Israelis to enter the mosque. Yes, they need a permit. A permit to enter their own mosque in their own land. This is a part of an apartheid system to control Palestinians. Permits are often denied. Once you have a permit, then you must go through extreme scrutiny. Checkpoints to checkpoints. That is how the whole occupied Palestine is like. Checkpoints to checkpoints. Even the Al-Aqsa neighborhood is being cleared of Muslims.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
This is Saliha Farouk reporting for Muslim News.
Muslim Network TV is live 24/7. We are on Galaxy satellite covering the US, Canada, and Mexico. We are found on Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Samsung Tizen. We are with you wherever you go, with apps available for both iPhone and Android devices. Muslim Network has studios in 4 cities. We have staff and reporters in 5 countries spanning 3 continents. And so far, we have produced and aired 26,000 hours of programming. This year, we intend to have reporters in 10 cities around the world, inshallah, God willing.
Muslim Network TV showcases the achievement of American Muslims. Recently, we interviewed Dr. Kashif Ansari. He is a Muslim American physician who is the executive producer of an orthodox-type serial on Salahuddin.
Galip gelmesin. Bir yardım eli gönder. Hak sancağını yere düşürmesin. Alem gölgesinde birleşsin. Yüreklere umut olsun. Karanlıktan aydınlığa götürsün. Yolu zafer yolu olsun. Cihana adalet, Kudüs'e hürriyet.
At Muslim Network TV, we always look for a positive angle to a story. Let's watch.
But you're a terrorist. You support terrorism.
Listen.
We killed 4,000 Palestinian kids. You know what? It wasn't enough. What's my name?
Yeah.
Muhammad. Did you rape your daughter?
This is an incident of anti-Muslim assault, a hate crime that took place in New York City. A street vendor of Egyptian heritage who runs a halal food cart was subjected to Islamophobic slurs and harassment for 2 weeks by this man, identified as Stuart Seldowitz. He labels the Muslim food vendor a terrorist.
If we killed 4,000 Palestinian kids, you know what? It wasn't enough.
He takes his bigotry further by referencing the ongoing genocide in Gaza, callously claiming that the murder of thousands of Palestinian children was insufficient. Seldowitz served as the acting director for the National Security Council under the former President Barack Obama administration. He also worked as a senior political officer in the State Department's Office of Israel and Palestinian Affairs. After his racist and Islamophobic rants, he has been arrested by the NYPD. Will his arrest bring an end to the anti-Muslim hatred in American society? How to counter this hatred? Allah has shown a path in the Holy Quran.
ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم.
After the actions of Seldowitz went viral, New Yorkers rallied to support the vendor, lining up to buy chicken and rice at his food cart. A Jewish customer even brought a cake to celebrate the birthday of one of the halal cart workers. People from all walks of life came together to show support to the food cart staff and took a stand against anti-Muslim hatred. In the face of bigotry, unity prevails. The arrest of one individual cannot erase a pervasive issue, but collective action and solidarity serve as powerful weapons against hate.
Islam in America was not born with us. Here is a film about the first Muslim resident of Georgetown in Washington, D.C., Yarrow Mamout, Rahmatullahi alayhi.
Before Congress decided to establish a national capital near the Potomac River in 1790, what became Washington, D.C., and long before slavery ended in Washington, D.C. in 1862, there was Yarrow Mamout. In the West African Fulani language, Yarrow means fourth child born, and Mamout means Muhammad. And so it was that Yarrow Mamout was born in 1736 in West Africa. Yarrow was kidnapped by slave traders while he was still a teenager. By the age of 16, he and his sister were transported to Annapolis, Maryland. They would never see their parents or siblings again. But Yarrow kept his dream for freedom alive. That dream took 44 years. Yarrow was a smart man, and he kept working hard until he was able to also purchase the freedom of his wife and his son. They all lived here, 3324 Dent Place, Northwest, Washington, D.C. Yarrow bought a log house at this location, though the original cabin is long gone. This is the third structure standing at the spot. It was here, in the backyard, that Yarrow designed for himself a small prayer space facing the direction of Mecca. It was a little masjid, a long way away from his original home in West Africa, where the sound of the adhan would have always been around him as a young child. Yarrow Mamout passed away in 1823. He was buried in the very backyard where he used to pray. A painter of the founding fathers of America, Charles Wilson Pale, also captured Mamout in an 1819 portrait. This is how he looked. Mamout's biographer, James H. Johnson, describes Mamout as a jack of all trades. Yarrow Mamout's story remained out of sight and underground. But in 2015, Washington, D.C.'s archaeologist's office found thousands of artifacts on the spot where Yarrow's home used to be. Many of these objects still need to be assessed and analyzed. In 2020, workers renovating a home close to where Yarrow once lived found 19th century human remains, which may be Mamout's. The memory of Yarrow Mamout lives on. In March of 2023, 200 years after the death of Yarrow Mamout, a new mosque has been named in his honor, the Yarrow Mamout Masjid. It can be found at Georgetown University. Georgetown is where he lived. May God bless our brother with the highest place in Jannah, the everlasting life.
However, we have a long way to go. A major study found that the New York Times reports on Islam in a more negative way than they do about alcohol, cancer, or cocaine. Really? Brother Edward Ahmed Mitchell has been at the forefront of this issue. Serving as one of Muslim Network's esteemed expert analysts, he brings his insights alongside his professional roles as an attorney and the deputy director of CARE National. Please welcome Brother Edward Mitchell.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is Edward Ahmed Mitchell with Muslim Network TV. I have a question for you. What role does the media play in creating anti-Muslim bigotry in our country? What role does the media play in impacting the lives of Muslims in our country? What role does the media play in justifying war crimes that our government commits or enables overseas? The answer to these questions is a major role. The media is the biggest purveyor of anti-Muslim bigotry in our country. And we have a responsibility to make sure that reporters in this country are being fair, accurate, and balanced when they report on American Muslims. But we can't just wait on that. We also have to make sure that we're telling our own stories, that we are presenting our own narrative to the public through our own media outlets. And that's why we have Muslim Network TV. That's why the work of Muslim Network TV is so important, because it is the opportunity for American Muslims to have our own American news channel sharing the truth about issues impacting our community in a fair, accurate, and balanced way. We have seen the consequences of what happens when the media is not balanced. We saw the fervor that was raised about Muslims and Palestinian Americans over the past several months. We saw the murder of a 6-year-old boy outside the suburbs of Chicago who was killed simply because he was a Muslim and a Palestinian. We saw the shooting of 3 college students in Burlington, Vermont, simply because they were Palestinian and proudly showing their Palestinian culture off. We have seen numerous acts of violence and discrimination against our community ginned up by biased media coverage, by anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian rhetoric in mainstream media. That is, again, why it's so important that we start to counterbalance this with our own narratives, with our own voices, and that's what Muslim Network TV is here to do.
Thank you, Brother Edward. These days, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. Looking at ChatGPT, we found that AI is not always that smart. A study just published in the prestigious journal Nature found that OpenAI's ChatGPT-3 associated violence 66% of the time while referring to Muslims. Yes, 66% of the time. AI-powered ChatGPT is already amplifying existing Islamophobia. This must change. Washington Post published the AI dataset. We found Sound Vision came up at the 114,911th level rank. It's good, but not that good. 114,911th rank is not bad, considering there are 1.13 billion websites. However, we do need to produce more. ChatGPT needs some training not to reflect existing biases against Muslims in the media. That will require us to produce more and better content. With your help, with sabr, patience, we will do better, inshallah.
The coverage on Muslim news is exceptional. Half of the news we report on originates from the United States, while the other half focuses on the Muslim world and its minorities. Unfortunately, negative media coverage is not limited to the U.S. Indian media, for example, and the Indian government have emerged as strong supporters of Israel. Watch this report by Muslim Network TV.
Indian Muslims love Palestine. As early as in 1931, Shaukat Ali and the great poet Dr. Muhammad Iqbal traveled to Palestine. It was the Muslim influence that India voted against the division of Palestine at the United Nations. Indian Muslims have been vocal and consistent in their support for a free Palestine. This solidarity reached its peak when millions of Indian Muslims protested arson at Masjid al-Aqsa. RSS Hindus who killed Gandhi did not like that. They murdered hundreds of Muslims, accusing them of being non-Indians for standing up for Masjid al-Aqsa. Killing Muslims have been a winning strategy for these RSS extremists. Today, they run India. Now, expressing support for Gaza is even more challenging. Meanwhile, Indian media outlets are propagating Israeli narratives. They justify the killings of Palestinians.
Israel is fighting this war on behalf of all of us who have had enough with this Islamist terrorism.
Israeli Defense Forces have released a video claiming that Hamas was using a mosque, a holy mosque in the Gaza Strip, not just to manufacture, but also carry out research and development of rockets to target Israel.
and the sporadic violence that has been reported in and around Israel.
When Indian Muslim protest, India uses Israeli strategy of demolishing their homes and mosques. Their mosques are being converted into Hindu temples. Even the icon of love, the Taj Mahal, is claimed as a Hindu temple. In such a hostile environment, many Indian Muslims feel it's safer to offer silent prayers rather than risk public support.
Our next presenter is a man of many talents. He's an award-winning filmmaker, a writer, and a graduate of the historic Morehouse College. Please welcome Brother Bubba Murray.
Thank you, Zahra. We are a 24/7 television channel. We have something for everyone. It's not easy to be a young Muslim in today's America, so to help, we offer 6 hours of children's programming daily. This includes original songs and family programming featuring our most popular characters, Adam and Anissa from Adam's World. A whole generation of Muslims have grown up with Adam's World.
Salam! Salam! Anissa!
Thank you, Bubba. All right, folks, let me ask all of you to please take out your smartphones. Aim your camera on your phone at the barcode that comes up right now. That's it. Aim it at the barcode. Click to download our app on your smartphone if you don't already have it. Go ahead, click, you got it. It's in focus. Boom. All right, excellent. I'll give you a minute to take a look at what comes up. Follow the prompts. That's all we have to do. Thank you, folks. Jazakumullah khair. At Muslim Network TV, we believe in the power of clean entertainment, content that inspires us to be our best selves and build strong, meaningful relationships. Our Art to Heart program, hosted by Buna Muhammad, showcases the best of Islamic hip-hop from around the world. We also have, if you haven't listened to them already, close to 200 songs and nasheeds available online.
He makes the clouds part. Eternal abode, I'm your spiritual guide, come to see ya, pleased to meet ya. Cause we coming from the hood, gotta choose the right path. Oh Allah, need you the most, need you the most.
Yes, we scan the sky and we sighted the moon, and we say farewell to Ramadan. When we fast together, all as one, to help and strengthen.
One of the most exciting parts of Muslim Network TV is our daily news program. We're privileged to have an exceptional team of news anchors who deliver top quality news coverage every weekday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a look.
From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha Ashraf.
From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui.
From the Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Sayed.
From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hannah Zubairi.
Our top story tonight. Israeli forces killed at least 104 Palestinians and injured over 700 who are awaiting food aid south of Gaza City today.
Canadian Muslim organizations have declared that federal ministers are unwelcome in mosques.
Pew Research says that 67% of Indians surveyed favored authoritarianism as compared to 16% of Germans.
The Council on American-Islamic Relations has disclosed that there are currently 2 million Muslim American voters nationwide.
A 25-year-old member of the U.S. Air Force who died after setting himself on fire on Sunday outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., called for freedom for Palestine in his last message.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, has warned consumers of the risks related to using smartwatches or smart rings.
Anti-democracy opinions are rising around the world.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell will step down as Republican leader in November.
Former MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan has launched Zeteo, a digital media platform that aims to reshape the progressive media landscape.
President Joe Biden has reaffirmed that he is a Zionist. Speaking on NBC TV program, he said one does not have to be Jewish to be a Zionist.
I think the only way Israel ultimately survives, and I make no bones about it. I get criticized for having said a long time ago, you need not be a Jew to be a Zionist. I'm a Zionist. Were there no Israel, there's not a Jew in the world to be safe.
Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has reiterated that the Israeli government is not waging war in Palestine, but is committing genocide. He says that Israeli armed forces are killing women and children and that thousands of them are missing.
O que o governo de Israel está fazendo contra o povo palestino não é guerra, é genocídio, porque está matando mulheres e crianças.
A Canadian judge labeled the killing of 4 members of a Muslim family in London, Ontario as a terrorist act. On June 6, 2021, the Afzal family was targeted while out for a walk, resulting in the deaths of Salman Afzal, his wife, daughter, and grandmother, and severe injuries to their son.
President Joe Biden has strongly criticized Donald Trump's recent remarks suggesting Russia could attack NATO allies who do not meet defense spending requirements. Biden labeled Trump's comments as dangerous and unbecoming of a former U.S. president.
No other president in our history has ever bowed down to a Russian dictator. Let me say this as clearly as I can. I never will. For God's sake, it's dumb, it's shameful, it's dangerous, it's un-American.
The Council on American-Islamic Relations has disclosed that there are currently 2 million Muslim American voters nationwide, which it says is a significant increase from 2022. CARE previously estimated that there were approximately 1.2 million or more Muslim voters in 2022.
Israeli forces killed at least 104 Palestinians and injured over 700 who are awaiting food aid south of Gaza City today. Witnesses recounted indiscriminate firing by Israeli soldiers using artillery and drones, transforming the aid delivery into a chaotic scene.
Plastic bag bans in the U.S. have helped eject billions of single-use bags from being used. A study co-published by Environment America, U.S. Public Interest Research Group Education Fund, and Frontier Group indicates that these bans effectively cut down nearly 300 bags per person annually. The report calls for stricter regulations to close loopholes, allowing thicker plastic bags to replace thin ones, which may worsen environmental issues.
Anadolu Agency documented conditions in the region. The footage shows a child, Abdusalam Keskin, drinking from the pooled, muddy rainwater as he has no other drinking water source near his destroyed house in Gaza.
That's all from our Chicago studios tonight.
That's all from our Toronto studios tonight.
That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios tonight.
That's all from our Toronto studios tonight.
For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.